Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Apples and Genos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. My name is Nate Groot Niblink. I'm the creator of Apples and Genos and originator of the Zero G Draft Strategy. And in this podcast, Blake and I are going to give you all the best streamer options and ad options for next week so you can start planning early. Let's hit it. Now, of course, I have your friend and my best friend, Blake Creamer, here with me. Blake, how are we feeling tonight?
I'm doing awesome, buddy. I feel great. All right, my matchups are going reasonably, so yeah, that's nice. Also, yeah, I heard recently from a scout friend of mine that was actually at your recent hockey game here, and he was saying that you remind him of a young Brandon Montour. So yeah, basically, his words were all sizzle, no steak. So I don't know. Is that accurate, Nate? Anything, any substance to this?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think I had something like 6 shots on goal tonight. I play defense for context in beer league, but yeah, I had a lot of shots. Rang one off the post and made a nice ping. But yeah, unfortunately, much like one Brandon Montour, I had nothing to show for it at the end of the night. And to top it all off, in the third period, I got absolutely danced for a really nice goal by one of
Oh
their
God.
defensemen.
All right.
So yeah, that was my night.
Yeah, well, that sounds nice. I mean, look at where Brandon Montour is now, Nate. So you still, you're a young man. Like I said, you're in the prime of your life. So you got the world in the palm of your hand, buddy. So go out and just grab it, right? That's where I'm going with that. I don't know what I'm
Sure.
I
Yeah, we'll
lost it.
go
Yeah,
with
that's
that. All right, Blake, why don't you bring us in, get us started with some newsies?
Newsies. Let's doozy. All right. Top news of the night. I can't not lead with this. Big Boone Jenner has returned. All right. He's been activated off the
Alright.
IR. That's right. Thank you, Nate. Yeah, he played tonight. He was on the second line with Adam Fantilli and Jack Roslovic, I think. Oh, God, am I wrong on that? Yeah, no, it was Roslovic, right? I almost got the Boone Jenner news wrong. That's terrible.
Can't do
So,
that.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Got to respect the man. This man got his jaw wired shut. All right. And then he just goes out on the ice, plays 19 minutes, a shot, a hit, and 2 blocks. He doesn't give a damn. All right. So, anyway, shout out to Boone Jenner. Did literally nothing tonight. But he's on power play 1. All right, in Columbus. So, it's a reasonable place to be. I don't know. But anyways, shout out to Boone Jenner. Welcome back. Get him back in your lineups. I've got him in 3 teams. I never dropped him, and I never will. All right. Let's move on. We got to talk about Logan Couture of the San Jose Sharks. He is going to play on Saturday. Sounds like he's going to make that happen. So that's excellent. This guy's only 36% rostered on Yahoo. So I think you got to go at him, right? I mean, I know he plays for San Jose. That's stinky, but he's going to get the top line, top power play treatment over there because they have no one else, right? And he's pretty decent in category leagues. This is one of those guys, Logan Couture. He's just a little bit better than average at everything, right? So I think that he'll be a useful player for you this fantasy season. So, don't be scared off because he plays for San Jose. I think that, he's gonna do stuff for you. So, anyways, he's coming back. That's nice. We got to move over to Carolina. Pyotr Kochetkov was placed on the IR. Sounds like more of a transactional move than like there was no setbacks or anything like that. And in related news, Spencer Martin, that Civ, oh my god, that Collender. Yeah, he was claimed by Carolina off waivers. So shout out to Spencer Martin. But yeah, that's something, I guess. There was no setbacks for Kochetkov is basically what I'm trying to say. One thing I did want to mention, though, just really quickly, we got our guy here, Mark Barber, 18 Skaters. He put out a really good tweet that I just thought was really interesting. I thought I'd get your take on, Nate, is Carolina are the best in the NHL at preventing shots, but their average expected goals value of the shots to get through has been high. Right. So basically, in layman's terms, they're really good at stopping shots, but the shots that do get through are really high danger chances. So it just explained a little bit to me about, some of the save percentages that the goalies in Carolina have. Like, do you have any sort of take on this, Nate, or does this make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes some sense. But yeah, It's really just one more data point to take into account. You know, conventionally, you would think that any team that's suppressing a lot of shots, you want to be rostering their goalies because obviously they are playing some solid team defense. But yeah, if they're actually allowing a lot of really solid chances, despite the just quantity, the pure volume being down, then maybe you can't ascribe that kind of potential to their goaltending. Kochetkov has been pretty solid when he's played, and even Ranta has played a couple of solid games. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting observation, and I did retweet that as well just now. So if anybody's looking for it, they can definitely find it.
Yeah, no, I just thought it was really interesting because those are some of the metrics that I look at when I'm valuing goalies, and it's not just black and white, right? There's always other levels to this. So shout out to 18 Skaters. He's at 18SKTRS on Twitter. Go get him in your life. All right, this man's a unit. All right, let's move on. I got to talk about the Buffalo Sabres. Jeff Torley Skinner and Matthias Samuelsson, game time decisions for the Sabres on Saturday. So just keep an eye on their status. You got to get them in your lineup. If Skinner can't go, I mean, Middlestad has been on that line at times. Jack Quinn is getting power play 1 at times. So, yeah, just check the lineups. Make sure you got the right guys where they need to be. Okay. Moving on over to Ottawa, Josh Norris is he's practicing in a regular jersey, so that's great. He could make his return on Saturday against Winnipeg as well. So keep an eye out there. Oh man, Norris has been I held him in a league for the longest time, and yeah, with these injuries, I had to drop him because I didn't have any more IR spots. But I don't know. What's your outlook on Josh Norris once he returns, Nate? What do you think?
Yeah, Norris was actually playing decently under the hood. Obviously, Ottawa as a team has gone downhill in a big way
Yep.
since the coaching change. But yeah, I still think that he's got 30 goal, 60-point potential. We'll see how he comes back. If he's fully healed right away, we'll see how the numbers look when he does come back and where he slots into the lineup now. But I'm still reasonably interested in Josh Norris at the moment.
There you go. And if they don't get Josh Norris, they still got the Pinto Bean, Shane Pinto, returning on Sunday, straight from the Vegas trip. Oh God, I don't even know if that's not even a good joke. All right, but yeah, he's returning on Sunday. He's eligible, and he's going to get right back into the lineup. So keep an eye on that game day lines for his deployment. Right, I don't know where he's going to go, but I would assume top 6, middle 6 maybe, but could get some power play 2 time as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting. They sign him to a 1-year deal, so I think they're going to give him some run for the remainder of the season here. So keep an eye on the Pinto Bean. Over to LA, just an update here. Todd McClellan, he mentioned recently that David Rittich is going to get a few more starts moving forward. So he could be a little bit of a 0G option. We'll talk about him in a little bit, but Talbot has been getting the bulk of the starts, especially since Copley went down, and he's tired. All right, he's a 36-year-old man. I'm a 43-year-old man, and I have trouble going up the stairs. So Talbot, shout out to you, but sounds like Rittich is going to get some a little bit of burn there. So that said, Talbot and Rittich, I don't know if they're going to be long, season-long guys, because there's also been reports that the Kings are looking to acquire a goalie prior to the deadline. So just something to put in the the back of your mind there. Manage your expectations. Like these guys could be drops later on, right? But currently they both have value, even though the Kings have been playing pretty poorly as of late. All right, we got to talk about Jacob Markstrom. He's likely to return on Saturday after missing the last 2 games, so that's good news for me personally because I have him in 3 spots. And that's all that matters, right, Nate?
Absolutely.
Sweet. Thank you for that validation. Moving over to Vegas. Jack Eichel had a procedure done. We're a little late to the party here, but yeah, this is the first time we're talking since the injury or since the procedure. So yeah, he had something done on his knee. He's looking at 4 to 6 weeks. So there's no real adds to me based on this injury, but Chandler Stevenson gets a bump, as does rookie Pavel Dorofeyev. He's actually landed on the second line with Mark Stone. Hi, Mark, and Chandler Stevenson. Plus power play 1, Pavel Dorofeyev. So I don't know. They got a back-to-back starting this week coming up, which we'll talk about Monday, Tuesday. Maybe Dorofeyev's an option. I don't know. If you're feeling froggy, you can pick. You probably get a worse player than Pavel Dorofeyev. All right. Sticking with Vegas, Shea Theodore is still 3 to 4 weeks away. So it's nice to get an update finally on what he's doing. So in the meantime, Marty McBlock is on the power play. Alec Martinez, that's pretty sweet. So I don't know. He'd be a good option too for Vegas, but we'll talk about that later. Also with Vegas, Aiden Hill is with the team, and it sounds like he's going to start one of the games on their upcoming road trip. So that's good news as well. Over to Minnesota, the Spurge. He spurged everywhere. What happened? Jared Spurgeon's out for the season. That's terrible news for Jared Spurgeon, the block party, but it's Faber time. Faber to the moon, Brock Faber. We like this. So yeah, he had a really nice game tonight, and we'll talk about Faber a little bit as well with Minnesota's schedule stuff. But yeah, tough news for Minnesota there. Also over to LA, Victor Arvidsson. See you at the party, Victor. He's skating. He's ramping up. Sounds like he could play right before or just after the All-Star break. So if you've been holding Arvidsson, there's light at the end of the tunnel. This guy could do stuff. I mean, on LA, they kind of have a top 9 there, and their power plays, their second power play gets some burn as well. So Arvidsson could be an option for you if you're holding him, or just keep an eye on him on the waiver wire. Okay. In Florida, Alex Barkov missed a second straight game with a minor lower body injury. Sounds like they're using an abundance of caution there. He tightened up or something like that, but it's not a sprain. It's not a tear. It's nothing like that. So sounds like he could make his return in the next game. In the meantime, Lundell and Louis Darden they're getting deployment with Sam Reinhart, the Sex Panther, on the top line, and they're doing nothing with it. Well, actually, what am I talking about? Lundell, and actually, I think they both got points. So I'm just out to lunch here. So there you go. Erik Karlsson, he's not feeling well. He's dealing with an illness right now. He missed practice, so just check on his status prior to tomorrow's game. But in his stead, Chris Letang is going to get power play 1. So great for Letang owners if Karlsson can't go. So just keep that in mind. And then with tonight's action, Marc-Andre Fleury in the Minnesota game, he was injured. He took himself out of the game. I guess there was a collision, and he tried to play through it, then ended up just taking himself right out of the game. So he's dealing with an upper body injury. No updates there. Of course, Gustafsson comes in and gets lit up for a few goals, but did secure the win, so that's nice. So just keep an eye out for an update on Fleury. And then lastly, Yanni Gourde, that long-haired piano-playing beauty. All right, he got a 2-game suspension for charging Matthias Ekholm of the Edmonton Oilers, so he's not going to be much help this week with Seattle having a nice little schedule. Nate, I'm done talking. You got to talk to us about week 16. What's going on?
All right, let's dive right in. Monday, we got 6 games. Tuesday, 9 games. Wednesday, 7 games. Thursday, 9 games. Friday, 4 games. Saturday, 14 games. And Sunday, 2 games. So in total here, we got 51 games played. Pretty normal week overall. We got a couple teams that have a Monday, Tuesday back-to-back to open the week. San Jose, Vegas, and we got 7 teams with a Monday, Wednesday pair of off nights to open the week. Arizona, Boston, Chicago, Florida, LA, Vancouver, and Winnipeg, all with the Monday, Wednesday to open the week. And then we got another 3 teams that have a Tuesday, Wednesday back-to-back to open the week. Buffalo, St. Louis, Washington. All of that is going to be really nice options for opening the week if you're looking for just a couple games in the first 3 days of next week. Then you got 5 teams with Wednesday, Friday off nights. That's going to be Colorado, Florida, Los Angeles, St. Louis, and Seattle. And then you got 3 teams that have Friday, Sunday off nights, St. Louis, Seattle, and LA there. So overall, another great streaming week on tap for us after we got spoiled this week that's still going on here.
Nice.
Tuesday, Thursday, again, the heavy nights here, Tuesday, Thursday are just 9-game slates. So there's a pretty solid chance you're going to find some availability, some open spots in your rosters on those nights, and you'll be able to stream on those nights. And that really does open up the possibilities for your team. So definitely we're going to focus here on the off night players, the players that we know are going to be able to get into your lineup, but do take a look at your lineup and see where you might have some additional room, and maybe you can focus even beyond the kind of pool of players we're talking about and open yourself up to some potentially even better stream options. So keep that in mind. And Blake, why don't you take us over into the worst teams to stream from this week?
You bet, buddy. All right. Well, let's take a look. There are a couple teams that play just 2 games. They are Toronto and Colorado. But Toronto is a little bit worse. They play 2 games with only 1 off night. But as Nate said, this week's really good. The only night you're not going to be able to get streamers in for sure is Saturday, right? So definitely just set your lineups at the beginning of the week, see where the gaps are, because you might be able to get players in every day besides Saturday. So keep that in mind. But let's start with Toronto. 2 games played, 1 off night, as I said. And what are their oh God, sorry, Nate. Yeah, they played Wednesday and Saturday. So yeah, I think you're probably gonna want to drop pretty much anybody on the Maple Leafs that is not playing on power play 1. Like, does that make sense to you, Nate? Like, is there anyone that you would look at, like Domi, Bertuzzi, any of those guys, Nyes, anyone that makes the cut here?
No, actually, like the most interesting guy in Toronto right now is Pontus Holmberg playing on the top line with Matthews and Marner, and he's actually got 5 points in his last 5 games here. But I mean, the guy's still only skating 12 and a half minutes a night. Underlying metrics are actually pretty decent the last little bit, which is kind of fun. But in a 2 game week, there's no way that you're hanging on to Pontus Holmberg if you happen to pick him up this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And then fun question for you, Nate. John Tavares, that slumping, behemoth of a man. What are how small, first off, would the league have to be for you to consider dropping JT?
Yeah, it'd have to be pretty small. I mean, like on the season, this is a guy who's still sixth in the league in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60. His minutes have come down of late. He's not scoring. He's in a bad slump. There's no two ways about it.
Yep.
And he's not playing particularly well, but I mean, not particularly not particularly well for John Tavares still means 68th in shots per 60, 65th in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60. I don't really have major concerns with John Tavares, and I'm definitely hanging on to him in all but like a 6 team league, if such a
6,
thing
maybe.
exists.
Oh God, yeah.
Maybe I'm dropping him there, but yeah, pretty much any conventional league that our listeners are in, I'm hanging on.
There you go. Shout out to JT. I actually had him on the Buy Low show 2 weeks ago. Then I had him on the most recent one as well. Like, he's a buy low, folks, and he's he's still doing the thing. He's doing well with his shots on goal. He had a nice little game last game there. Still no points, but like 5 shots. So you like that. He's going to come out of it, no problem. But yeah, it's going to be a tough week for Tavares owners for sure, because he's probably still going to slump for those 2 games. And, God, you'd be like, why didn't I drop him? Like, I should have. You shouldn't drop JT. All right, let's move on. We got to talk about the Colorado Avalanche. Like I said, 2 games played with 2 off nights. They play the Wednesday and then the Friday. So, if you really wanted to, you could, like, I would probably drop Colorado players for the beginning of the week, right? You get someone in on the back-to-back, and then you could drop them and pick up a Colorado player if you wanted for the Wednesday, Friday, and then, that's just an option. You don't have to drop these players, but there are some bubble players. And let's start with Jonathan Drouin, who I talked about as an honorable mention in my Sell High show, but I feel like his days are a little bit numbered. And I don't know where you're at with Jonathan Drouin, Nate, but the thing really propping him up is his insane deployment. And with Lehkonen coming back, I think there's a chance that goes away. Like, Lehkonen has spent time on that top line. He certainly spent time on power play 1. Like, how do you see things kind of shaking out in Colorado once Lehkonen returns?
Yeah, I think Druin has gotten enough counting stats while playing in that position that he probably holds on to it at first. It's probably Ross Colton who goes off the top power play first. But yeah, at this reason, I don't expect that Lehkonen just instantly unseats Druin from top line. But that being said, I mean, you mentioned it, but 369th in shots per 60 over his last 5. Druin has
Yeah,
not been doing much on his own. He's definitely
going for a skate.
benefiting from the guys that he's playing with, but he's not playing particularly well himself, in my estimation. So I think there's definitely going to be a chance, whether it's, Wednesday or Friday or when it happens, but I do think Druin does eventually come off that top line and Lehkonen gets a role there. But yeah, whether it happens this week or not is still definitely up for debate.
Yep. So I agree with that. I mean, I have Drouin in 2 spots. I dropped him in 1 spot just to make something happen, because I'm sort of foreseeing just what I think might happen. But yeah, obviously Lehkonen needs to be rostered even in this 2-game week. Like, I think the potential of Lehkonen is high enough where I'd hold him through this. Even, like, hopefully, or not hopefully, but if he's still injured, you could just leave him on the IR. Like, it's not an issue, right? But if he does get in, I would probably still hold just to see what he can do. Colton, to me, could be a pretty easy drop, I think, especially if Lehkonen does return. So I don't know. Any thoughts on that, Nate?
Yeah, I view it similarly. You can, like, I think you can drop any of these guys. I don't think you have to. Of the three, the one that I'm the most confident in for the rest of the season, the one that I'd be trying to hang on to the most is Lehkonen.
Yep, absolutely. Well, there you go. That's our Colorado take. All right. And we're sticking to it. Okay. Now we're going to do a rapid fire with Nate Grutniblick, that legend. All right. 11 teams here. They have 3 games played with 0 off nights. But again, you don't have to drop these players, right? It's a good streaming week. So take that for what it's worth. All right. But we'll start with these teams here. So it's Anaheim, Calgary, Dallas, Detroit, Edmonton, Minnesota, Montreal, New York, Islanders, Ottawa, Philadelphia, and Tampa Bay. All right, so I'm going to give you some players, Nate. You tell me what you're doing with them, all right?
All right.
In Anaheim, what are you doing? Are you keeping or dropping McTavish and Troy Terry? What are you doing?
McTavish, I don't feel bad about dropping. His metrics have really taken a dive of late. Terry, I'm trying to hang on to, averaging over 20 minutes in the last 5 games.
Beautiful. All right, over to Calgary, we got Noah Hannafin, Yegor Sharon Golvich. That's a shout out to one of our Discord members, came up with that, and Jonathan Huberdeau. What are you doing with these 3 players?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to hang on to Hannafin and Sharon Govich. I think you can comfortably drop Huberto in my estimation, but the other two are playing well enough, putting up enough points at the moment that I'm trying to hang on.
He had a 20-minute game the other night, Jonathan Huberdeau, with 2 assists. Oh my God. Is he back, Nate? Is he all the way back?
No.
Okay. All right. You heard it here. You heard it here first, folks. Jonathan Huberdeau is not all the way back, but can he beat his 55-point pace from last season? What's the over-under on that, Nate?
Maybe.
Oh, damn. That wasn't one of the options, Nate. All right. You failed. Okay. I'm taking the over. I think he's going to get 57 points.
All
Jonathan
right.
Huberdeau,
I'll
57
take the
points.
under then.
Oh, damn. All right. That's a gentleman's bet right there. A virtual handshake. Okay, there you go. We got it. That's on YouTube. You have to go to YouTube to see that epic, barbarian handshake that Nate and I just did. All right. Let's move on to the Dallas Stars. We're looking at Jamie Benn, who is somehow 73% rostered, and Tyler Seguin, 59% rostered on Yahoo. What are you doing with these two Sedin haters?
I think that Sagan may be reaching the end of the line of this crazy hot streak he's really been on for most of the year at this point. The underlying numbers have never looked particularly compelling, and I think that this may be the point at which he starts to tail off a little bit. Jamie Benn, I mean, the guy's getting 14 and a half minutes a night. He's got just 1 assist in his last 5 games. His underlying metrics are terrible. I think that you can drop Jamie Benn if you need to. I think you can drop Tyler Seguin if you need to.
Jamie Benn, beautiful head of hair on that man, though. Oh my God, he's got that slick back. I know Banksy loves that. Shout out to John Benkel. I think he's mentioned Jamie Benn's hair just as something, a point of pride. Like he's really into that. So, anyways, buddy, how do you make fun of the Sedins? All right, how does Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin sleep at night? That's what I want to know. All right, and buddy, this guy just won you a streamer death match, and you're just kicking him to the curb. Oh my God,
That's
it's
what we do.
okay. All right. And that's how we do. All right. Let's move on. We're talking about Detroit. We're looking at the Ghost, Shane Gostisbehere, and Lucas Raymond. How are you managing these players?
Yeah, I'm not super attached to either of these guys. Ghost Despair, I've said this before, goes through these periods where he's really hot and he's really cold. And so I just don't feel like he's a player that you have to roster consistently all year long. Kind of similar for Raymond, honestly. So I don't feel
Yeah.
bad about dropping them if you need to.
Yeah. And then, obviously Perron and JT Comfort, guys you might have picked up as well. See you later. All right. Get the hell off my team. All right. We don't need you here. Alex DeBrincat. We're not doing anything with him, are we, Nate?
No, we're hanging on to Alex DeBrincat.
We love Alex DeBrincat here at the Apples and Ginos podcast. Even when he's in a slump, it doesn't matter. All right. We're stoked. Okay. Edmonton, we got to talk about that Viking Matthias Ekholm and Warren McLovin Fogle. Please tell me you're keeping Fogle on your team, Nate.
Yes, of course. I would never drop Warren McLovin Fogle under any circumstances. Never will I ever drop him. Matthias Ekholm, still the underlying numbers look really good with him, and so I'm trying to hang on to him as well this week. But quite honestly, like all jokes aside, Fogle has 4 points his last 5 games. I'm trying to hang on to Fogle if I can, if I'm in a deep league where I've already picked him up.
I'm into it too, man. I mean, with a 3-game schedule, and this particular week, like I'm trying to hold on to Fogle. I picked him up in Cacuffle for his 2-goal explosion, buddy. Every time I pick him up in Cacuffle, he smashes for me. So I got a lot of love for this player. He's Boone Jenner light for me right now. Can he overtake? I don't know. Probably
Ooh.
not this season, but I'm gonna have to. No, he's gonna have to win me some matchups, and then maybe we'll see. But I love Warren Fogle. I'm a big fan of that player. All right, moving over to Minnesota, we got to talk about Brock Jacques Chalak, Brock Faber. What are you doing with him?
Yeah, I think like had a big game again tonight. We talked about Spurgeon being out. You got to hang on to Faber.
Yeah, it's all systems go for Faber. I love it. This is a player that we were on early, right? And it's a bit of luck for him. Obviously, with Spurgeon out, like his role is super secure now, unless Guerin does go out and get like a stud defenseman, like a Jacob Chikrin or something like that. That would maybe that would decrease Faber's value. But right now, it's aces up for Brock Faber. So you got to get him. He's a must roster player for me, even through this week. So there you go. Moving over to Montreal. We got Nick Suzuki here. We got to take our opportunity to talk some Yang. How fast would you boot Nick Suzuki off your team? Just once you see this, is he already gone? Did you even have him? Have you ever rostered Nick Suzuki, Nate?
I have not, to be quite
Okay.
honest with you. Yeah, I mean, Nick Suzuki is probably better than the waiver wire guy in your league, so you're probably hanging on to him. He was just kind of the next. There's kind of like these tiers on Montreal, right? It goes from Nick Suzuki down to like, why would you ever think of rostering
Yeah.
these players in a fantasy hockey league? So Suzuki's the one guy who you maybe could drop if you're in a smaller league, 8-team, 10-team league, but in most cases, I think you're hanging on.
You know who you should go get from Montreal? Raphael Harvey Pinard. Oh, yeah, that block master. Both Nate and I projected him for 100 blocks in the offseason. Oh, yeah. Then we had to alter it because didn't make any sense. But yeah, this, I don't know, shutting out RHP for no good reason. All right, let's move on. Over to the New York Islanders. What are we doing with Anders Lee? And then what are we doing with Ilya Sorokin? Are we just punting him off our team?
I've never had to deal with the Sorokin problem because I've never rostered him because his price has always been far too
Yeah.
high for me to consider drafting him. So I've never considered that one. But like, I mean, I don't know. Has he been bad the last little bit? I'd drop him if he
Yes.
has been.
Yes, he has.
I literally don't pay attention to any of the
All right.
top roster goaltenders because I've never rostered them. Um, Anders Lee, I yeah definitely think you can drop. He had a nice 2-goal game for us, people who
Mhm.
streamed him this week, but
Nice.
definitely you can drop Anders Lee.
Yeah, fun story. A money points league that I play in, my home league actually. Some guy dropped Ilya Sorokin, and everybody in the league was pissed because I picked him up immediately, right? And he hasn't been doing very good. And now I am having a problem wanting to drop Sorokin. You know what I mean? It's like he's been playing like absolute poo. And I'm sitting here like getting the same zero G feelings where I'm like, well, he's good. I have to hold on to him. Like, I should just drop him. He was a waiver ad for God's sake. I don't know. Let's move on. Ottawa Senators, Jake Sanderson, Vladimir Tarasenko. What are we doing with these players, Nate?
Yeah, so after I talked some Yang on Jake
Yeah.
Sanderson, he's been absolutely crushing. So clearly he's a listener of the podcast. Hi, Jake. Sorry for what I said. Eighth in shots per 60, eighth in Corsi 4 per 60 over the last 5 games for him, plus some points. Been playing pretty well. I mean, I actually just picked him up for this weekend, basically for his schedule this weekend, but I'm considering hanging on to him. As a fourth, fifth defenseman, you can probably do worse. It's not a priority, I guess, is what I'm saying. You don't have to be thinking about getting him off. Tarasenko did get demoted down the lineup in the last game. If that holds, then I'm definitely thinking about dropping Tarasenko, regardless of the 5 points in the last 5 games he's got.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a disclaimer for anyone out there in a league with Nate. If he talks Yang on a player, that means he's going to go pick him up the next day. All right. That was a league that I'm in with Nate. I was shocked, just stunned that he picked up Jake Sanderson. No, I wasn't. Jake Sanderson's playing pretty well, but there you go. I don't know. He's misdirecting everybody. He just likes to win. All right. So that's fine. That's what makes him. That's what I love about you, Nate. All right. Let's move on. Philadelphia. We're talking about their streamers again. So Travis Sanheim, Joel Farabee, Jamie Drysdale, and Sean Couturier, who's actually the least rostered of those, but I actually like him better than any of the other players. So that's weird. But what are you doing with the Philly players there that are on the bubble?
Dropping Sanheim, I think you can drop Farabee. He's a little bit more on the bubble. Underlying metrics are not great for individual, but the on ice numbers are really good. 21st in Corsi 4 per 60, 17th in scoring chances 4 per 60, and he's got 5 points his last 5 games. Couturier is somebody I'm trying to hang on to. Drysdale, like, hasn't been top power play yet. The underlying numbers are pretty solid. I think you can drop them. I don't think you have to be hanging on to Jamie Drysdale.
Yeah, I agree. I picked up Drysdale, as a spec ad right away when he got traded, just for fun. But the returns have been underwhelming. He's obviously been injured or had an illness or whatever. So I did drop him in one of my leagues. I don't feel too bad about it. Their power play is terrible there anyway. So power play on one of the worst power plays, if not the worst power play in the league. I'll just go out and get Alec Martinez. That sounds nice to me. All right, and last team that has 3 games with 0 off nights, the Tampa Bay Lightning. We're looking at, we got to talk about Brandon the Bagel Hagel. He's not been getting it done lately, and then Nick Paul, the 2 first names. What's happening here? I don't know. His middle name's Steve. Nick Steve Paul. So that's
Is that a real statement, or are you just making
no,
that up?
but it should be. That's a missed opportunity if it isn't. So, right? Am I right on that name?
That would be some
There you go.
terrific naming done by Nick Paul's parents if they did indeed go that route. But yeah, Hagel, I think you got to hang on to. He's got 2 goals, 5 points his last 5, averaging over 19 and a half minutes a night. I think you got to hang on to him. He's not currently skating on the top line or top power play, but I've said this about Hagel. When you add it all up at the end of the year, like even what he's pacing for right now, 24
Yeah.
goals, 66 points, that's where he's going to be at the end of the year.
Yep.
You're going to have to live with some ups and downs with the deployment throughout the year, but I think you're going to be relatively satisfied at the end of the season. Nick Ball, though, you can absolutely drop. He has been quite cold, and he's never quite cashed in on all the opportunities that he's had. So I definitely think you can drop Nick Paul.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's move on. We got to talk about the best teams to stream, or as Nate likes to call it, the Cream's Dream Streams. Steam? I don't know. I can't. Oh god, I lost it. Yeah, I was trying to think of more
Close.
rhymes there. Steam. What you should never. Well, I guess you would steam cream, like if you're a barista or
What?
something. I'm just trying to make a connection here, correlation. All right, Nate. Come on. What are you doing? Have you never watched improv comedy, Nate? You got to back me up. All right, at all costs. All right,
Oh,
we'll work on it. We'll take it offline. That's fine.
I apologize. I will endeavor to
Yeah, yeah. Because
back up your Steam comments in the
yeah,
future.
yeah. Thank you, my man. All right. Well, that's we'll edit it in post. That's fine. All right. Yeah, we got one team this week with a great schedule. They got a perfect schedule. 4 games
That's a
played.
great point, Blake. Great schedule. Great
Oh
point.
my God, you're really boosting me up. You give me a warm fuzzy, Nate. I don't know if I like that. All right, but let's carry on. Yeah, LA Kings. All right, that's what we're looking at. 4 games played, 4 off nights. Beautiful schedule. Thank you for your service. Except they're playing like hot garbage. All right, they play Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. That's nice. But let's look at some of the players there on the Kings, right? And we've got some interesting decisions to make now with some recent lineup changes in LA. So we got Pierre-Luc Dubois, we got Quentin Byfield, Philip Deneau, and then Matt Roy. And to me, the really interesting piece is that PLD has actually been moved up to the top line, and Byfield's been moved down the lineup. So that's significant, right? And that's going to really cap Byfield's ceiling. But I don't know what it does for PLD because he's had good deployment on this team, especially at the beginning of the year, and he did nothing with it. Right. So where are you, like, how are you ranking these players here on the Kings? Because this is, and is there anyone else on the Kings that we're potentially looking at adding?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would rank PLD at the top at the moment, playing with Kopitar and Kempe. That's a good spot to be. It's the best he's had this entire season. I mean, he hasn't been terrible the last little bit. He hasn't been good, but he hasn't been terrible. And so, yeah, give him the opportunity and maybe he'll turn into something for this week. So I would put PLD at the top. If Byfield sticks in this deployment with Anderson, Dolan, and LaFerriere, there's no chance that he provides a really nice week for you, in my opinion. I don't think like they're gonna play him at center. It looks like in this setup, and he hasn't played center like all year. Like there's just so many things going on here that I'm not excited about for Byfield. So I would have Deneau actually above Byfield for next week, and then Roy is actually pretty interesting. Not a guy who gets a ton of power play time or anything, but definitely a guy who puts a lot of shots on goal, does good in the banger stats, and then finds his way into some points here and there. So, yeah, I mean, if you look at his last 5 games, second amongst all defensemen in
Yeah,
shots per
I
60.
just
He's
noticed
been
that.
chucking pucks the last little bit. So I'm definitely okay with the Matt Roy stream.
Chucking pucks. Oh man, I don't mind that. I mean, you know what? We should workshop that, Nate. Maybe that could be like, are we fully happy with apples and Genos? Maybe chucking pucks. Do we throw that hat in the ring? I don't know. To shut us out in the comments, shut us out in the Discord. I don't know. Would you prefer chucking pucks or apples and Genos? I don't know. I'm interested in that. All right, that sounds nice. Shout out to Matt Roy, chucking pucks all day long, buddy. Nice work. All right. So there we go. Let's move on. So, yeah, those are your guys. I would agree with all of that. It sucks for Byfield. I'm actually a bit choked about that because, obviously he hasn't been playing to potential really in the last little bit here. But, you really got me on this guy. And now I'm on this guy. Like I'm a big fan of the player. I've watched highlight packages. I'm a fan of the player. So hopefully he gets back on the top line there. Anywho, let's move on to the next two teams that have a great schedule: the Florida Panthers and the St. Louis Blues. This is going to be a nice week for me because I got so many Panthers. Oh yeah, buddy, I got them all. All right, I got the Sex Panther on like 5 teams. I don't know what's happening. But anyways, yeah, so let's talk about Florida first. And yeah, their streamers are interesting. They got some reasonable streamers here. We're looking at Evan Rodriguez, who, without Barkov, Rodriguez is actually toiling away on the third line with Kevin Stenlin. Did you ever watch that reminds me of Ernest Goes to Camp. Did you ever see that?
I have not.
There's this guy, the camp counselor. His name's Stennis. All right. And he's a bully and he pushes this kid in the water. He's like, you're learning the Stennis way. So, shout out to Kevin Stenlund. You're learning the Stenlund way. All right. Anybody watch Ernest Goes to Camp? It's a really good movie. Jeez, I'm freaking ancient. I'm older than dirt. Anyways, Erod is down at the third line playing with Stennis, Stenlund, and Ryan Lomberg. That's Office Space. All right. Spent so long talking about Evan Rodriguez, but I think if Barkov is back in the next game, I think they're going to reunite that line: Barkov, Sam Reinhart, and Evan Rodriguez. That would be my guess. So Evan Rodriguez might be a nice option here for you this week. My 2 cents on that. You also have OEL, who, he's doing stuff. I mean, I don't know where people are at with Ekblad and Gustav Forsling, but, these guys are popping off while Brandon Montour, fills the water bottles on the bench. So that's fine. And then Sam Bennett Dyson, he's out there. All right. And people are not rostering this man for some unknown reason. I don't understand. He's got access to Kachuk. So of those players, how are you ranking them, Nate?
Yeah, I'll take Bennett first for sure. 21st in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60, 19th in Corsi, 4 per 60 over the last 5 games. He's got 3 goals in that span, averaging 19 minutes a night with this Barkov injury, obviously boosting that up a bit.
Yep.
Evan Rodriguez, I'm less confident than you that he just goes right back up to line 1 with Barkov. With Barkov comes back, if there's any chance that he's on the third line, he is not going to do anything
Yep.
from the third line. So, I'm just a little bit wary of that. I'd rather have the sure thing in Bennett, even if it's reduced role from the 19 minutes that he's been having. If he gets back down to his normal 16-ish, then I'm fine with that. That's the way that I'd rank those two.
Sweet. Yep, absolutely agree. Definitely check on Erod. I think, it's boom or bust, right? Exactly. If he's going to play third line, no, I'm not interested. There's way better guys, but if he's going to get that top line with Barkov and Reinhardt, let's go. It's Erod time. He's chucking pucks. All right, he does that. Hashtag. All right. The other team is the St. Louis Blues. And on this team, we got some reasonable options. Braden Shen, Torrance, Krug, Colton Parayko, Kevin Hayes. Oh, God. And hey, neighbor. Jake Neighbors. So of those players, how are you going to manage your St. Louis streamers?
Yeah, I think Shen is the clear target here amongst all of them. He has been moved off the top power play, but they are still, splitting the power plays very evenly there in St. Louis, as they're wont to do. Jake Neighbors is the one who's actually getting elevated to play with the big 3 of Kyrou, Buchnevich, and Thomas. So that's nice for him. And he is also playing alongside Buchnevich and Thomas at even strength. So it's good deployment for Jake Neighbors. Hasn't really translated into point production. He's got just 2 points his last 5 games here, but he is getting some minutes. So that part's nice. I would go Shen, Neighbors, and then Hayes for sure. Krug is splitting time with Perunovic on that what I would call the second power play unit away from the big three, so that's not ideal for me. So I'm not super excited about Krug, and then Pareko's not getting any power play time, but he
Yeah.
does still play a ton for them, 24 minutes on average the last 5 games. So he's got some utilization as well, especially in like Bangers Cats or something like that.
Why is Drew Bannister doing this to my boy Jordan Kyrou? Like, get him back up on that top line. It worked. He was popping off. I mean, they were getting wins. I don't get it. Jake Neighbors? No. Go back to, Mr. Rogers Neighbor. Oh, God, I couldn't think of anything. I lost it. All
It
right,
was
that's fine.
close.
Yeah, well, then thank you, Nate. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not stoked on Neighbors. I wasn't at the time, but he was getting 20 minutes back in the day. That was really nice. But yeah, I don't know. Shen is your guy. He's hot and cold, isn't he, Braden Shen? Like, yeah, he's on a 5 point streak right now, but he could just as easy go 5 games with nothing, like
Yep.
donuts. So there you go. All right, let's move on. We got 4 teams that have 4 games with 2 off nights. They are the Arizona Coyotes, Boston Bruins, Chicago Blackhawks, and the Vegas Golden Knights. Love those Buckies. Love those gold Buckies for the Golden Knights and the Kings. I love that. I actually really love that. I hope the Canucks, get they have the black matte helmet, but maybe like a shiny, like a glossy helmet. I don't know. Are you with me on this?
Sure. Let's see it.
Oh
I can't picture
God.
it quite honestly, but I'm ready to see it. I'm always
Okay.
ready for something new.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, that's the type of excitement and energy that I need, Nate. I really appreciate that. All right, let's move into Arizona. We got to talk about Schmaltzy, Nicky Schmaltz, Logan Cooley. I always think of Cooley like that, that sauce you put on like a cheesecake. Nick the Jug Bjugstad, uh, Big Pimp and Jason Zucker, Matthias Michelli, Alex Kerfoot, and Dylan Genther. Okay, we got some options here on Arizona. How are you ranking these players, Nate?
Yeah, it's a little bit all over the place. Schmaltz was held out of the last game, but it sounds like they're trying to get him back for Saturday. Assuming that Schmaltz is healthy and playing next week, he's a priority. Because, yeah, I still believe in Nick Schmaltz as a 70-plus point player in the league as a point pace. So definitely I like him. Cooley was the one who kind of took his spot, kind of up the lineup, playing with Clayton Keller, both at even strength and on the power play. So if Schmaltz can't go, then Cooley has some utilization. Bukestad's just kind of been hot of late, 5 points his last 5. He's been chucking pucks, doing the thing.
We're getting
Hashtag,
there. We're getting there.
hashtag. Yeah, so he's been doing all that. Yeah, there's just options here, right? Michelli has definitely gone cold of late. The shots have vanished. That was
Yeah.
part of the excitement around Michelli is he was finally shooting, and now that's just left his game entirely. Not sure why or how that can really be, but that has been the case of late. Zucker is kind of your Cats League guy who shoots a bit and hits a bit and does kind of a bunch of things. Yeah, so if you're in a deep Cats League and you need some of that, you can do that. And then Dylan Genther is getting some top power play time. And I think everybody's seen that one shot that he had where he just
Yeah.
absolutely
Filthy.
lasered it from high in the slot. So he's definitely got some ability. Hasn't really translated into big time counting stats, but he is 69th in shots per 60 over the last 5, which is pretty nice. So overall, Schmaltz is definitely the target. If Schmaltz can't go, then Cooley becomes kind of a top target. I'm still not in on Alex Kerfoot. Bukestad, I guess you can try to stay in the flames there, but it really falls off a cliff after the top guys, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting team. Lots of guys, but they're all kind of below replacement, aren't they?
Yeah.
Besides Schmaltzy. So, anyways, let's move on to Boston. We're looking at Jake DeBrusk, Pavel Zacha, the Coiler, Charlie Coyle, fill in the bowl, and then JVR, James Van Riemsdyk. So, yeah, these are some interesting players. I've talked about Jake DeBrusk on the Sell High show a little while ago. Where are you at with these players, DeBrusk specifically? Because yeah, his season hasn't really gone to plan, has it, Nate?
Yeah, DeBrusk has really taken a step backward this year. It's kind of surprising. We mentioned in the preseason episodes how he actually had some of the best on ice metrics, had the best on ice metrics of anybody on Boston last year, even including, Patrice Bergeron, David Pastrnak, all these guys. It was really DeBrusk that was showing out in those metrics, and that gave me some hope for him to be able to sustain a pretty solid season this year. But he hasn't been able to get on top power play this year for whatever reason. They've been prioritizing James Van Riemsdyk and others over him. So that obviously just really holds down his potential production. His underlying numbers have not been great this year. Like they've definitely taken his individual numbers have been okay, not great, but his
Yeah.
on ice numbers have really taken a big hit. So he's definitely been feeling the absence of Krejci or Bergeron or whoever his center might have been last year. And yeah, so overall, you just can't be too excited about Jake DeBrusk. But you can be a little bit excited, I think, about Charlie Coyle at the moment. Just the amount of time that he's getting 19 and a half minutes time on ice the last 5 games. Got 4 points in there. Underlying metrics are actually looking not too bad the last little bit, which is something brand new for Charlie Coyle. He's always
Mm-hmm.
been pretty terrible in every kind of metric that we like to look at on the season now, pacing for 28 goals, 63 points, and playing with Marchand and Pasternak at even strength, playing on the top power play. Coyle, I think, is the guy to target here if he is available in your league.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. All right, let's move on to the next teams here. We've got the Chicago Blackhawks, and again, it's in our show notes. It says still nope. All right. So yeah, I mean, but they won tonight. Damn it! There are guys on their team doing things like Jason Dickinson. But are you gonna go out and pick up Jason Dickinson on your team? Like, is that where we're at? I don't know. Like, what? I mean. I don't know. Where are you? Do you have any kind of hope for any streamers on the Chicago Blackhawks, Nate, or is it literally a nope?
It's pretty much just a nope. I did actually pick up Jason Dickinson in Cacuffle this past week because
For the back
Chicago
to
had
back.
the
Yep.
Tuesday, Wednesday back to back, and it was like kind of the only thing that I could fit in that made any sense. And then their game got canceled, and so I didn't get any use of it. And I dropped him before he had this big game here
Oh
tonight.
God.
So yeah, still nope for me from Chicago. Yes, there will be some players who have big games. You'd be like, oh, I could have streamed him, could have streamed him.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're going to be able to predict who that one player will be next week. So I'm not interested in that. I will say, like, if Seth Jones is out there, I think he's pretty widely rostered already. Yeah, he's up at 56%, so he's definitely gone in most leagues and most active leagues, but he's actually been playing really well since he came back, at least from an offensive perspective. So I'm definitely interested in Seth Jones if he happens to be out there for you.
Absolutely. All right. And then the last team with 4 games played, 2 off nights, the Vegas Golden Knights. And yeah, they actually do have some options here. So Braden McNabb, he's your resident beefer there. You got Bobby Joe. I got my tooth caught on the screen door again. Bobby Joe Barbashev, and Chandler Stevenson, and then Alec. Martinez there. Marty McBlock is what I'm dubbing him. So, yeah, I am actually interested in some of these players because they have that back-to-back right at the start of the week. So, tell me about some of these Vegas players, Nate.
Yeah, it's definitely some players of interest here. McNabb definitely just really like any league that has a really extreme bangers weight or a bangers cats kind of situation. McNabb's probably already rostered, honestly, in
Yeah.
those kind of situations because he's been an absolute monster in those kind of leagues. Barbashev not playing terribly at the moment and getting some decent minutes, which is not something that he's always gotten, over 18 minutes the last 5 games here. But Chandler Stevenson is the guy that seems to be taking up most of the minutes vacated by Eichel at the moment. And so if you need some kind of empty calorie points with not a lot of shots or hits or anything peripherally going on, then I guess you can go for a Chandler Stevenson and hope to get some points there. Dorofiev, as you mentioned, is playing top power play and playing with Stevenson and Stone at even strength at the moment. So that's a viable option in a pretty deep league, I would say. And then Alec Martinez, yeah, definitely somebody you can look at. He's going to get those blocks, as you mentioned, and then he's playing on top power play at the moment. Over the last 5 games, 42nd amongst defensemen, Corsi 4 per 60, but 14th in scoring chances 4 per 60. So
Oh
he's
my.
definitely on the ice for some chances for. So I have some more than just passing interest in Alec Martinez at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm going to change Chandler Stevenson's nickname from Bing to Empty Calories. I like that. All right. That describes that man to a T. All right. Moving on. Columbus Blue Jackets also play 4 games. They have 1 off night. So of these players, I mean, obviously Boone Jenner, must roster player. All right. I mean, for now, oh God, it could get ugly there in Columbus, but Johnny Gaudreau is 49% rostered, and it falls off a cliff after that. I mean, we got Voronkov, Marchenko, all those guys, and then how about Adam Boquist, who's actually heading up the top power play there in Columbus? What do who are you interested there?
Yeah, I mean, you can pick up Goudreau. He's going to be the one to get the most deployment, obviously, of these guys. Yeah, if Jenner's still out there, then definitely Jenner is of interest. But um, overall, I think that we're probably not that interested in anyone off Columbus at the moment. I just can't find it. I don't know. Can you find it in yourself to get excited and
No,
confident about picking up any of these guys for next week?
always Boone Jenner. I was stoked to see him, but oh God, John Gaudreau, no. And then I've seen a bunch of people add Boquist, and I'm like, really? Like, I don't know. Like, he plays a couple bad games. He's back down to 14 minutes a night. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at with that player. But anywho, let's move on. I did miss a team here that does have a little bit of a better schedule with 3 off nights, and that's the Seattle Kraken. We got to talk about them. And of course, they're the stream team. They got a ton of players that we got to look at here. So we're looking at Oliver Bjorkstrand, Adam Larson, Jordan Eberle, Jason Schwartz, and Yanni Gord would be in the list, but he's got that 2-game suspension. So I said Jason Schwartz. It's Jaden Schwartz. I
That
don't
is
know.
correct.
I was thinking of what's that movie with Matt Damon? You know what I'm talking about? Jason Bourne.
Jason
Oh,
Bourne.
that's where I was at. Yeah, that's the correlation there. Anyways, Nate, tell me what you're doing with the Kraken. How are we releasing them this week?
Yeah, I mean it's an easy mistake to make, Blake. So you can definitely be pardoned for confusing Schwartz with Bourne. So definitely
Yeah,
don't feel bad about
it
yourself
has
there.
the same vowel sound. I don't know.
Definitely, I'm interested in Bjorkstrand. He's got 6 points his last 5 games here, eighth in the league in individual shot attempts per 60, averaging just over 16 minutes a game. He's definitely of interest. Eberle's having a nice little stretch here as well, 4 points in his last 5. So I'm interested in that too. Larson kind of is what he is. He's going to play some minutes. He's going to score some points here and there. He's going to bang around, lay the body, do all those things that we
That's
love
fine
for fantasy
analysis right there,
hockey.
Nate. I love that analysis right there. That might be the
Or
best I've ever heard of you. Yeah, that's amazing.
probably much better than all of that fancy numbers crap that I put out there
Oh,
on a regular
yeah.
basis, right?
Well, no, I don't know about that. Let's not get crazy, but you're on one tonight. I got to say that. All right. So yeah, there you got to go get the jerk store. All right. Oliver Bjorkstrand, thank you for your service. This man's popping off. Yeah, I just wish to give him more minutes, but they don't do that. Dave Hackstall, he doesn't give a damn about your fantasy team. All right. And that's hurtful, Dave. All right. Let's move on. All right. We're going to give one player to pick up from these teams right here, Nate. I want to get your take. Pittsburgh Penguins, Vancouver Canucks, and the Winnipeg Jets. They all play 3 games with 2 off nights. Pittsburgh Penguins, who are you picking up? Who's your Huckleberry on the Pittsburgh Penguins?
It is kind of an interesting case because you have Raquel and Rust there, are both very similarly rostered in Yahoo leagues. I think like 43%, 44% is what I saw
Yep.
looking at it earlier. So you got right now you got Raquel on the top line and you got Rust on the top power play. So kind of pick which one you're more interested in at the moment. I think if you just look at the underlying numbers, Raquel's playing a little better, in my opinion. And so I would lean Raquel's way. They both have 4 points in the last 5 games, but I'm leaning Raquel's way there.
A strange erotic journey from Milan to Minsk. Raquel. Oh, my voice cracked on the last one. That's fine. All right. Vancouver Canucks. Who are you picking up from this team? All right. And it can't be JT Miller.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to choose from in Vancouver after the big names. I'm not really interested in Bench Kuzi. I will say Connor Garland is 51st in shots per 60 over the last 5. He's got a goal and 3 assists, or 3 points rather, and skating 15 minutes a night. So I guess I'd say Connor Garland at the moment, but I'm not excited about that.
Yeah, you know what? I'm watching the games, and I'm a little more excited about that than that's viable. That line is really good. They're tilting the ice out there. It's weird. Like Dakota Joshua, Teddy Bluger, and Connor Garland. They're a really nice third line, and they're doing stuff. So Garland is not that bad. So, anyways, I'm with you on that. Winnipeg Jets. What are you doing? Who are you picking up?
Yeah, apparently Gabe Velarde is 47% rostered on Yahoo, so that don't know how that's possible, but he's out there for a bunch of people. He's got 3 goals, 4 points in his last five, fourth in the league in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60 over that span.
Crazy.
Definitely, Velarde should be much higher rostered. If he is gone, then you can go to Cole Perfetti for sure. Still hot, 3 goals, 5 points in his last five here, but getting only 15 minutes a night. 48th in shots per 60 is his best metric over the last little bit.
I love it, buddy. Why don't you tell us the best players to stream for this week?
Yeah, so this was an interesting one for sure this week. It was difficult to really come to any sort of conclusions because I'm not super confident in the LA guys who have the 4 off nights, so we know you can get them in for all those off nights. Then you go to the 3 off night teams: Florida, St. Louis, and Seattle. And so that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to start with Oliver Bjorkstrand at the top. I'm feeling the most confident in him at the moment. Then I will go with Pierre-Luc Dubois as the second. I think the potential here is pretty high, but it is a bit of a boom bust pick for sure.
Yep.
Then I'm going back to Seattle with Jordan Eberle, then back to LA with Philip Deneau. And then we get into Sam Bennett, Braden Shen. I am going to throw Quentin Byfield in here because I do think that there's still a pretty solid chance that he does get back up onto the top line at some point next week as well. Then you get Evan Rodriguez, Jaden Schwartz, and I will even throw Gabe Velarde, even with just the 2 off nights. I think 2 off nights of Gabe Velarde is probably going to be better than a lot of the other options from the 3 off night teams. So I'll throw Gabe Velarde in at the end. What do you think, Blake?
Bang. Love it. I might put Sam Bennett over a few of those players, over Jordan Eberle. I'd probably put him third, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah, I can see it, especially if he continues to get a bit more minutes as he has in the last 5 games here. Let's move on to some bangers talk. Best for hits ranked. It's got to be Jeremy Lauzon at the top again. Like, if you need hits, your best option right now is actually to just add Jeremy Lauzon and play him over whoever you got
Yeah.
to fit him into your lineup because he's just going to smash people. That's what he does, and that's what he has been doing. So he's still the top option, even in a week where he's not playing a ton of games. Will Borgen from Seattle has been doing the thing as well. You got Andreas Englund from LA. So if you need the off nights,
Yep.
Englund is probably the guy to look at there. Carl Grunstrom, if you need a forward hitter, you can look his way. And then I'm going to butcher this name again, but Ty Cartier? Cartier?
Is that a question? I don't know.
It is a question.
Oh, okay. Oh, sweet.
But yeah, plays for Seattle and he hits a bit, so you can look his way as well. On the block side, Matt Roy does that in spades, so definitely a guy that you can look at, and not just a guy who blocks, he does provide in other ways as well. So definitely somebody to be interested in. Colton Parayko does that as well from St. Louis. Then you got Alexiak and Larson from Seattle. And then if you need actually some blocks, if you're looking to supplement your blocks from your defenseman with a forward play, then Philip Deneau definitely does that as well. So he fits in here as the fifth one. Anything to add to the bangers, guys, here, Blake?
Yeah, love that. A beefer I've been talking up a little bit that might be helpful for you, at least for the Monday, Tuesday, is Mario Ferraro. This guy's been getting a ton of minutes, and that's what I like to see when you're chasing periffs, basically. And yeah, he can put the odd point out there, but yeah, he's crushing hits and blocks, and he's putting some shots on the board too. So don't sleep on Mario Ferraro, even if you pick him up for the back-to-back, then punt him.
Fair enough. All right, best players to add for the future. Long-term plays at forward. So I really thought Gabe Velarde was going to go back over 50% last week. He has dipped below, and so Gabe Velarde tops the list at 47% rostered. I've still got Nick Schmaltz here, Igor Sharangovich, who I added to this list last week, Ricard Raquel, and Alexis Lafreniere. Not much really changing here except Gabe Velarde joining the list at the top. Sub 20% rostered. Got to shout out TJ Oshie, who's been absolutely crushing as of late. So wanted to make sure I mentioned his name here. He's still under 20% rostered at 18%. So you can definitely go out and get some Oshie in your life. First in the league in individual scoring chances 4 per 60 over the last 5 games is TJ Oshie.
Damn.
Sub 10% rostered, you can go for a guy like Marco Rossi, who has been kind of consistently in the top 6 there, centered Zuccarello and Kaprizov in the game here tonight again. So as long as you're getting that kind of deployment, I think you got some value. Definitely for a player less than 10% rostered, you can do worse than Marco Rossi. Anything on the forwards here, Blake?
Samuel Bennett. I'm a big fan of that man, and I think he should. That guy can probably help you out. For the rest of the year. But yeah, I don't know who I'd put him over. I mean, I don't know. I'm not 100% sold on Sharon Govich at this point. Like, I love what he's doing, but I don't know. I want to see more. I like what I'm seeing. That's for sure.
You want to see more than 7 goals in his last 5 games? Is that
All
what
right,
you're
just
saying?
just take it easy. All right, that's what you call a hot streak. All right, what's his shooting percentage, Nate? Tell me that.
I don't know. It's not
Yeah,
important.
yeah, we don't have it in
Just
front of us.
believe,
All right.
okay?
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm with you.
All right, let's talk defenseman. Brock Faber exists in a category of his own atop this list, 42% rostered at the moment. Definitely should be like 80% rostered at this point, if not more. And then, honestly, you can arrange all these guys kind of any way you want. Jamie Drysdale, Cam Fowler, Torrey Krug, Thomas Harley all have some potential. I'm not excited about these options. We've talked about it before. It does really dry up in the defenseman. Um, the last little um, bit after Brock
Yep.
Faber, basically, it's really tough to pick anyone out who you think is going to be long term viable. So hopefully you got your defensemen sorted out by now and you're not chasing these guys. Sub 20% rostered. Shout out Matt Roy here again for what he's been able to do and sustain, honestly, over the last little bit. And then sub 10% rostered, I'll throw in Alec Martinez. Obviously, this is limited term thing here, but yeah, Shea Theodore 3 to 4 weeks away still, so you're going to get a good chunk of run here for Alec Martinez. Anything on the defenseman, Blake?
Yeah, I think I'd bounce either Krug or Harley for Ekholm. But yeah, that's a great list. Even Matt Roy and Alec Martinez. I'm low key excited about both those players.
For sure. All right, move over to goalies, and top of the list has to be Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who we shouted out on this show last week, and Blake shouted out even before that, I believe. So definitely one that we've been monitoring, and if you picked him up, then you're definitely loving life. A couple of shutouts back to back. That's what we like to see.
Mhm.
Charlie Lindgren, Samuel Urson, both guys playing terrific and kind of outplaying the incumbent there in both situations in Darcy Kemper and Carter Hart, respectively. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how those situations will unfold, but it seems like it's at the very least a 50-50 time split for both of these guys at the moment, and they're both playing absolutely terrifically at the moment, which is what we want to see for our 0G players. Sub 25% rostered. I got Nico Dawes here at 22%. I think I mean, Vanacek did get in today and was against the Blue Jackets, so he only allowed 1 goal. But I'm still not confident in Vanacek. He's been one of the absolute worst goalies in the league this year. And Nico Dawes did seem to get some love from Lindy Ruff this year in terms of the starts. So I'm still interested in Nico Dawes. I don't know if I'm like rushing out to add him, but I'm pretty carefully monitoring what's going on in the Devils net right now, because if he does really start to lay claim to that net, and then, you get Jack Hughes back, you start to get their team back together, then this could be a really, really solid situation. And then David Riddick, who you mentioned in the news and notes situation, definitely a situation where I think the Kings can turn things around. Like, they were for real earlier, and they're absolutely not for real at the moment. Something's changed. I think they'll figure it out at some point, and I think Riddick can maybe be a part of that. I'm not like saying this is a guy that's gonna play terrific for the rest of the season, but I do think that you could get into a couple week stretch here at the least where David Riddick is actually a really solid option for you. Um, Anything on the goalies here, Blake?
No, no notes. That's a great list. That's a 0G at its best right there. Give me some UPL. Oh my God.
Yeah, definitely. I just gotta say, like, 0G, fading goalies, whatever you want to call it. If you're not practicing this, you're kind of telling on yourself at this point. I quite honestly believe that. Like, just look at the amount of goalies that we've been through this year. Look at the goalies that have emerged from nowhere to outplay. You're talking about Sorokin and how you're feeling crazy for hanging on to Sorokin. So many of these top end goalies have just been awful this year. And we've had terrific play from Connor Ingram, Joey Decord, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, like the list goes on. So
Yep.
uh, don't do this to yourself. Just play 0G. You have to pay attention to the goalies and when they're getting hot and ride them when they're getting the opportunity. But if you do, you will absolutely enjoy the results. All right, head-to-head streamer deathmatch, Blake. We've got to get into it. So 7-6 to you on the season here. So you are still ahead, but not for long. Don't worry.
I was
Coming
going to
for
say
that.
rightfully so ahead, but that's fine.
This week we have picked a pair of absolute duds so far. Dawson Mercer was my pick. He's got 7 points through 3 games, which is not great. One more to go for him. You picked Alexis Lafreniere for the second straight week. He's got 2 points after 2 games, a couple points that is, and 2 more to go for him there. So we'll see how it shakes out, but we neither of us can say that it's been a great streamer week to date so far. I don't know if you want to say anything about
Well,
our combined ineptitude so far.
I don't know about you, Nate. I still got 2 games. All right. So, I'm
Okay.
expecting a Hattie and,
Okay.
maybe a goal and an assist in the second game, bunch of shots.
Oh.
Alexis Lafreniere, come on, buddy, help me out. This is not a death match unless the death is by boredom. All right. And then, yeah, it might be a death match.
All right, so we got to make our picks for next week. We were actually talking about it a little bit before. I got the first pick this week, and I kind of don't want the first pick this week. So normally we just kind of go through the teams that have 4 games played. We're not really focusing on the off nights so much with this, just the teams that have 4 games played, trying to get the most kick-up points possible versus each other here. Normally I would just smash Nick Schmaltz for this, but with that injury, it is kind of concerning. Like, what if he comes back? What if he doesn't? What if he comes back and only plays 15 minutes instead of his normal, like, 19, 20? All these things running through my mind. And then at the end of it all, I'm still going to go with my guy. I'm going to go with Nick Schmaltz. I'm going to
Nice.
take him, and I'm just going to pray that he's healthy because if he is healthy, I think that he's by far the most talented on this list. So that's my take, and I'm sticking to it. Nick Schmaltz, don't let me down, buddy.
Well, if that's your take, Nate, then you'd be wrong. All right. For once, Nate would be wrong once. All right. And then this is the case right here. All right. Because you should have taken Sam Bennett Dyson. All right. That's who I'm going with. I'm taking SB all the way. This man's going to pop the hell off, Barkov or not. Even without Barkov, he was still getting like 17 minutes, which is more than enough to me for Bennett to do some stuff, especially with the underlying metrics. So there you go.
All right. Well, we're coming to the end here. If you enjoyed this show, if you could head over to YouTube, wherever you're at currently, give us a like and subscribe. We're up over 700 subscribers at the moment, trying to get towards that 1,000 mark for the end of this season. So if you could help us out with that goal, that would be awesome. If you can rate and review the pod, if you're listening on podcast app somewhere, that does help us out as well. If you're interested in some additional help for your fantasy teams, I'm offering some offerings on Patreon. Offering some offerings. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is definitely
He does
the
that.
end of
He
the
offers
podcast.
all the time. It's really nice that you do that, Nate.
Anyway, we do have offerings there. You can sign up for the Patreon for $5 a month. You can ask any question anytime, and I guarantee I will get you an answer to that question. For $10 a month, I'll give you a team review once per month. So definitely get in there if that's something that you think would be beneficial for your teams. And as we mentioned, Mark Barber, 18 Skaters, doing a lot of great work, and he's posting these daily summaries along with things like that chart that you mentioned, Blake, with the Carolina kind of expected goals versus attempts numbers there. So, Mark Barber, check him out on Twitter and check out the daily summaries that he's posting to the Apples and Junos website. And it's just a great way to catch up on everything that happened in the NHL over the previous night's games. If you didn't have a chance to be on your phone all night, then you can definitely do that. But that is all we've got for this episode. Hopefully, it brought you some value, helped you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. All the advanced stats you heard today came from Natural Stat Trick, which is a terrific free resource. Many thanks to the band there for supplying the music for this podcast. Be sure to check out their Spotify as well. That's it, folks. Much love.